some of the more important things at the very beginning, if you get good habits of doing this, then you'll understand and you'll be able to book more and hold more. And I want to really role play that with you, to be able to kind of role play booking. So how many of you have tried to call someone? I know Alyssa has called some people. Have you called anyone yet to like book any facials or parties or anything?
I've spoken with, but
like
I
in
haven't
person.
done the script. Yeah.
Okay. So this is your weekly plan sheet. You also should have gotten a date book in your starter kit. And so one of the things before you start booking anyone, the first thing you should do is either create a weekly plan sheet for this week and the next week, or put it in your day planner so you know when you can hold parties. So go through and say, am I going to be working 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours? Am I holding 1 or 2 or 3 parties or whatever it is? You highlight in yellow or pink or whatever color you want to do for your parties. And then when someone says, yes, I can do it, you can look and say, okay, I have this time or this time, or I have this time or this time on the, like if they say weeknights are better, or weekends. And we'll kind of go over that. But if you just say, oh, I have no idea, and then someone says yes, and you don't know when you normally hold your parties, one of the things that I found was my husband from the beginning had always been really supportive of Mary Kay, which I loved and appreciated. But when I started wanting to earn a car and become a sales director, I found myself, and he started getting annoyed at Mary Kay. And I was like, you say you're so supportive, and and you're not, that was basically my, what I would say to him. And he's like, well, you never told me that you had a party tonight and I wanted to do something as a family, or, earlier today you said you had nothing and now you're doing something, like it was just this thing. And so one of the things that I highly recommend, whether you're single, married, whatever, have another full-time job, especially if you have another full-time job, plan your week of, write down your kid stuff, write down your church stuff, your family obligations, your, like any other obligations that you have, write it down. Then the great thing about Mary Kay is you can work around all of those things. Now, if some of them in family can be moved around, then set the times that you want to work in Mary Kay, and then the other things that you can kind of fill in, you can do. Like for Thursday night, I would just block that out. I always said unit meeting was a non-negotiable. I always came, and I do find that people that come to unit meeting on a regular basis just are more successful. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Just for the sake of when you have a really good week or a party, or you're excited about your business, you come and you have that excitement. And when you have a really crappy week, then you come and someone else's idea or someone else's excitement or motivation, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it this week. Like it's kind of like, instead of a yearly or a monthly reset, you say you can do that weekly even, and so I would always decide how much you're wanting to make for one, and but basically if you look at that sheet, on average it's averaging $150 per class that you do, and with anyone 3 to 6 people is considered a class. And you're going to average about 150 in sales. Now that's really low average. We would always want people to be above that, 200, 300, but that's kind of safe to say. If I were to do it, then it would be 150. And then it averages your reorders, and it averages like people that are customers, for the rest of the year. And so on average, if you do one class, you're going to be working about 5 hours a week, and you usually make $9,750 on average. So if you just round to about $10,000 per class, having 2 parties a week, it's about $19,000 something, and then 3 parties, it's $29,000. So it's basically about $10,000 if you average 1 party a week for your whole year. Okay. So for me, that's what I would focus on, is how much money do I want to make for one, and also how much time can I put into it, and do those work hand in hand? Or maybe I say I could actually work 10 hours a week, and so maybe I can do 2 parties a week, like you can kind of figure that out. But once you do, then you figure out when you're working. And one of the things that has worked best and has created not arguments at home is deciding the days that I work. You're self-employed and you can choose any time. And so what I would do is, hey, do you want to have a party? Okay. And then they'd say yes, and I'd say, okay, when do you want to do it? And they basically created my schedule. So I would work Monday one time, and I'd work Wednesday another time, and I'd work Friday. And so that it was never the same, right? When I started saying, okay, well, what days do we have certain things in place that we can't change around? And how many days a week are you comfortable with me working or being gone or whatever? And so we decided that I would work Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then every once in a while I've changed it to Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. But it's usually I work 3 days a week away from home. So I'll still make phone calls when I'm home on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I try to do them every single day. If you're doing the 21-day challenge, which I highly recommend, you'll do it every single day. But that's can be like 20 minutes to an hour. That's not, you can do that at nap time or at, at a break at work or whatever. Whereas with parties, you kind of need to have that block of time where you can drive to someone's home or drive to the studio or whatever it is. So I usually block out, 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 to 3, depending on if I'm going to be driving somewhere. But that's usually the time that I set aside. And then they usually say for one party it takes about 5 hours. And that is included in your texting, your calling, your booking, also your coaching and follow-up, and then like paperwork and everything afterwards. So just know on average, if you do a party, it's going to take 5 hours of work, but 2 to 3 hours away from home. Unless you do them in your home, and then, obviously there's that. So just know that the weekly plan sheet is really, really important in that regard. Awesome. This is a challenge that I'm starting to do with all new consultants. And so we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to give you 30 days from now. And it's called the Super 8 Challenge. So I don't know if you heard, the Super 8 Challenge is book 8 parties within 1 week of receiving it. So you can do it from a week from today. And when you do that, you receive a satin hands, a full-size satin lips, and microdermabrasion. So you can either use that for yourself. A lot of times those things, especially with microdermabrasion and satin lips, it doesn't come in your starter kit, and you want to be able to put it in your starter kit so you can sample it, because the more people try, the more they'll buy. That's just always how it's been. So there are 10 lines, so if you can even book up to 10, but if you reach 8, then you get that. The parties do need to be held within the first 30 days after your kit arrives. So you can schedule them, you can start booking them now, and then you can schedule them, starting a week or 2 weeks out, depending on how comfortable you are, either booking for Thursday nights or booking at your own home, doing it yourself with the flip chart. So just kind of based off of that. But one of the things that I learned is sometimes new consultants are like, I don't know anything, I still don't know anything yet, I don't know how to start, so I'm gonna wait to book anything until I know what I'm doing. You're never going to get to that point. Like, you're never going to feel like I know and I'm the bomb at everything.
Like, it's a true statement. I still don't know everything.
Yeah. And we still screw up. Like, we still have 0 parties, right? More than we want. But the thing is it all averages out, right? But the way that you're going to get good at these parties is by practicing. The only way that you're going to, like, you can have as much information as you want, but you're not going to actually until you put it into action, you're not actually going to get better at that skill, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So for me, what I want you to focus on for these first 8 parties is, don't think of it as I need to make sales. Now, both of you got some amount of inventory, so I know that you're like, I need to get sales, okay? You want to make money, right? That's why we got into this. Like, most people want to make money. But if you go into a party thinking, I need to make sales, then that's like your focus, and you lose out on a ton of more options and opportunities. And I'll kind of explain that, because if you are so focused on sales, you might not book a party that she would have maybe ordered $50, and then she wants to earn $50, and then her party would have been $500. But because you were so focused on the here and now, you didn't want to give anything away for free. You didn't want to book them as a hostess to tell them they get stuff for free because you didn't want to lose out on the sale. You lost out on $500 or $200 or $300. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's why And other thing is women, we can sense energy in that way. That if you go into an appointment and all you're looking for is sales, 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 I'm going to try to get the most money out of you that I possibly can. Women can feel that, and then we like back off. We're like, I don't want to buy anything. You know, like you do kind of the X. Whereas if you go into it with a service attitude, with a service mentality, like I want to serve these people and I want to pamper them and make them feel good, and then I want to find what works best for them. Because everyone has their own problems with skin, acne, wrinkles, dark spots, rosacea, you know, whatever it is, you want to make sure that they feel like you care about them. And if you care about them and you want to find what is going to work best for them, it's not just about the sale. They'll come back to you over and over and over again. If you go into it with sales mentality, majority of the time it will be a one-time sale and they will not come back to you. Because they're like, I felt pressured, I felt pushed, she wasn't very fun, I didn't like her. You know, like there's a lot of reasons that could be that. And I know there have been, you know, like I needed a bill paid or I needed something, and so I went into it, and it feels totally different. And so, especially with the new parties, I want you to just think of it as this is just practice, and you tell them it's practice, and you go into it feeling like it's practice. It's sometimes different when you say it's going to be practice, and then it feels really pressured. Then it's like she snuckered me into doing something that, you know, I didn't really want to do. But when it's practice, and then you just say, hey, is there anything that you want to take home that you just absolutely loved and you don't want to leave home without, you know, that's a different feeling than, so what are you going to buy, you know, tonight? Or, you know, just, it's a different feeling. So I want you to go into these parties as I'm practicing, and you're getting out of friends and family, the people that you know, because you're not going to make the most money from them anyway. Sometimes, like, you'll still sell stuff, but getting out of friends and family and having people that you don't know, they're going to treat you like, oh, you know what you're talking about, because they don't know how long you've been doing it, unless you tell them. Which you can say you're new, but I would never say, this is my second party. This is my third, you know, like you don't have to say that. Just say, I'm new and I'm learning, so I just want to have fun and I want to pamper you women. That's, you know, a good feeling vibration, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that I want you to know. I give you this product when you book the parties, and you have the names of the people and the phone number and the party date. You get them even if they don't hold. Okay? But, of course I want them to hold for you for a lot of different reasons. But, so instead of like worrying about all of this other stuff, you get to use these at your parties. And that's one of the benefits that comes from that. So then this gives you a script on the bottom, okay? I'm gonna give you two options for scripts, okay? And you actually kind of have, so this one should be like the third page underneath your Super 8 challenge. So you can use, you also can print off my 21-day challenge scripts, and you can use that one. But either way, I want you to read kind of what it says on both of them, and I want you to feel which one feels more like you, which one feels more comfortable to you, because you'll naturally be able to say it better and it will come out smoother if you do it in that way. And then if something feels weird, then we are going to role play that so you can kind of see how it feels. Because you can read it all day long and you could read it 100 times and you'll feel like you know it, but then the second you make the phone call, it's kind of like the practice classes. You're not going to get good at booking unless you practice booking, you know? And if you don't use the script, you end up mumbling and bumbling over your words, and trust me, I've done that tons, where it just doesn't sound right, and so then they're like, what are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about, and so then they're less likely to book. So I want you to kind of look over it. I'll read this new consultant booking script. It says, hey Susie, it's Angela. I know it's been a while, but the reason I'm calling was because I started my own Mary Kay business, and I am so excited. Part of my training is to have 30 women in the next 30 days try the product and give me their honest opinion. Is there any reason why you wouldn't help me out and let me borrow your face? And you can say it into a mirror, and you want to be like smiling while you're saying it, because you can hear that in your voice, versus, Hey Susie, it's Angela. I know it's been a while. So the reason I was calling was because I started my own you can sense it, right? So, and is there any reason why you wouldn't help me out and I could borrow your face? You pause, that's what the dots mean, right? And then they say, yes, sure. The reason why it's worded in that way is more people are gonna say, is there any reason why you wouldn't let me borrow your face? They actually say no, but they're saying yes to that question. Do you see how that's saying? So they say, is there any reason why you wouldn't help me out? No. That's a yes. So you say, great. I work, and then you fill in the days that you've already highlighted on your weekly plan sheet or your date book, and you say, I work, and I say this every single time, and so it just comes out super easy. I work Tuesday and Thursday night or Saturday morning. What works best for you? Or if you're booked on that night because you've already have something, say, my next appointments are Wednesday night and next Saturday, or whatever it is. You give them 2, maybe 3 options, and you want them to be able to choose. If you say, I work every Tuesday and Wednesday night and Saturday morning, they can push it out 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? But you say, are you available in the next couple of weeks? That's another phrase that you could word in your in the script. Is great. Are you available in the next couple of weeks? I work, or I have available this day and this day. What works best for you? Or you could say, do weeknights or weekends work better for you? So then you know if it's like Monday through like Thursday, Friday issue, or like a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, depending on if you work on Sunday. So, and then they say, well, Tuesday might work, and you say, great, or awesome, I can't wait to pamper you. Now, because I'm trying to do so many practice spaces in the next couple of weeks, I would love to get you or give you, and then notice I have it in parentheses, because depending on if you came in with inventory or full inventory or nothing at all, you might want to change your hostess plan to make sense for what you're doing. So I always say, if you don't have inventory, do not give free stuff as like dollar amount for anything. I would never do that. Even if you have inventory, you don't have to do that if you don't want. But if you don't have inventory, you don't want to be in a situation where you say, I'll give you $50 if you have 5 people, and they bring 5 18-year-olds that don't buy anything, and then you're out $50 and you have to pay for the 25 to order it. Does that make sense? Whereas if you have inventory, you don't notice that money fluctuate as much because you have that kind of fudge room because you have the product on hand. But having a % off is always a great way. Mary Kay does it where you can get a certain percentage for how much in sales you do. You can do it that way. You can also do the program that's called 75 for 35, which is great if you're worried about giving away like too much money. What's great about that is, how much is half of 75?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
$37.50. So if they're paying $35 for the $75, how much are you out?
$0.
$2.50. $2 because it's $37.50. So basically zero. Like, I mean, $2.50. That's like nothing, right? So then you say, I'll give you a discount, or I'll give you some free stuff, or I'll give you a free gift, or whatever your hostess plan is. You fill in right there, right? For bringing some friends with you. Thanks so much. I'll send you some more information via text, or you can call back either way. So you can either give her more information at that point, or you can send some more information via email, text, whatever you want to use. So that information is kind of like the address, the date and time to kind of confirm it so they have it in writing, because they say it on the phone, but sometimes they forget. And so that reminder, like follow-up text that gives all the details, it sometimes is good. And then if you have like a pic of your hostess plan, whether it's 75 or 35, or we also have a earn 200 free party with me, or earn 100 free party with me, and I can go over that. But early on as a new consultant, I would just say, stick with something a little bit easier that you're just gonna be able to know and remember every single time. So 75 for 35 is great. 10% off for every single person you bring that are over 18 or 21, up to 5 for 50%. You don't lose any money because they're paying for whatever it is that they're ordering, right? I used to do $10 for every person, but I only do that if you have a full inventory. I wouldn't do that if you have probably even a partial, unless you knew that it was like an older person that you felt like she really wants some free stuff and I want to make sure that she feels like, you know, whatever it is. Okay? So does that wording kind of make sense? Does that feel good? The script that I had when I was a new consultant, it just totally, it didn't sound like me, and it was like, I'm totally excited and scared to death, and anyway, I didn't feel it, and so I never used a script. But I went to my director and I was like, I am not getting very many yeses, like no one's booking. And she said, well, are you using a script? And I was like, no, it totally sounds fake, and you know, all my friends and family would know, you know, like whatever. And she's like, you need to practice and use a script. The more you practice, the more you say it out loud, the more you'll kind of tweak the words to how it sounds like you, and it won't even feel like you're using a script because you've said it so many times. I can say my referral script super fast and easy all the time because I haven't used this script for a long time because I'm not a new consultant, right? But I use a version of this a lot of the times just with like customers or anything like that. But for referrals, that I use all the time. And so I could, because I say it one after the other, you're calling referral after referral after referral, you know, and I've done it for so many years. And you can tweak things here and there for different challenges, or, you know, like I've done the 100 face challenge. You can do 100 faces in 2 months, 3 months, a month, whatever it is. And so you kind of tweak your script to make it so you're saying that. But these are like tried and true scripts. So the 21-day booking challenge, you can also print off those scripts, and that also is a good one if you need a referral script, if you need like a current family member, customer, or it also has the new consultant booking script in there as well. So then the other one that you can use, it's on the bottom of the Super 8 challenge. So basically it says how to ask them to hold a party. Hi, Susie, this is Angela. I'm so excited. Do you have a quick minute? That's also something that's not in here, but it's good to ask because they might be busy. And if you ask permission basically to talk, then they're not going to be mad that you took, you know, more time for them. So that's a great thing to put. Do you have a quick minute? The reason that I'm calling is to let you know that I've decided to start my own business with Mary Kay. I am nervous and excited at the same time. As part of my training, my director has asked me to find 8 sharp women who would help me practice my party presentation, and I immediately thought of you. Is there any reason why you couldn't help me out by having a few friends over and letting me practice my presentation? So then they know that you're going through something that you need to practice, that it's a start to finish type thing, that they're less likely to like interrupt you as much, and because they know that you're trying to practice this presentation, if that makes sense. And basically the presentation is your flip chart, right? That's how you're gonna learn how to go through the flip chart. And then you say, great, what works best for you? Beginning of the week or end of the week? Monday or evening? You usually give 2 options if you're doing that. Great, so we're set on Tuesday at 7 at the Sandy Studio. As my gift to you, you'll receive 10% discount on any Mary Kay product that you might want for each person who attends your party. This offer extends all the way up to 50%. So if you have 5 people attend, you'll get 50%. Isn't that great? I'll send you, you know, all that stuff. So those are the 2 different, can you hear how they're similar, but the words are a little bit different, but they kind of have that same, you know, way that the conversation is supposed to go, okay? So we're gonna practice that so we can kind of go over and work with your script and how it sounds so that we know that you're getting good results. The other thing that I wanted to go over is some of the common objections that people get, just so that you know when you start calling, you're gonna get these objections. And if you kind of remember them, I should have them on my Angela's Aviators website as overcoming objections. But I need to do one just for, I think, booking actually. So, but what's one objection that you're gonna get?
Time.
Time? I don't have enough time?
I don't have money. That's what I've been told a lot.
I don't have money. Okay, so we're going to, I'll role play with you,
okay.
and then you can role play, I'll have Kaylin role play with Alyssa just to hear kind of the difference and how we go things. We do things very similarly, or I can do it if you don't want. So time is going to be your issue. So ring ring.
Pick up.
Hey, Jess, this is Angela. I know it's been a while, but the reason why I was calling is I started my own Mary Kay business, and I'm super excited. But part of my training is to have 30 women in the next 30 days try our products and give me your opinion. Is there any reason why you wouldn't help me out?
I'm supposed to do 10.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I'm so excited for you. I don't have any time on my hands right now. I am so sorry.
Okay, so I know that you're a mom, and I know that we're super busy, but we could even do a really short get ready for bed facial. When are you, usually busy women really need to be pampered, and I'd love to just share the products and have you be pampered. Do you have any days off, or does your husband have days off where you'd be able to get a night free?
You want me to continue to object?
Yes. Well, you can, either way. So just kind of do it the way that you think someone would say.
Okay.
What are you most busy with right now?
Right now, night times just don't work for me. It's really hard to get my little one to bed. And so I really struggle. Like, if I don't put him down, he doesn't go to bed.
He doesn't go to bed. I totally get that. I have 5 kids myself, so I understand. What about like a daytime appointment, or like even a Saturday morning?
I might be able to do a Saturday morning, but I would have to check with my husband. And
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, does he work on Saturdays, or do you guys do like chores and stuff?
we normally like go hiking or do things like that.
Okay, cool. So what if I gave you anyone that helps me out, I'm giving them a free gift certificate or a free gift. And so I'd love to like even tentatively put you down. Like I don't know if like in the next couple of weeks you're available, or if 3 or 4 would be better. But we can put you on the schedule and you can check with your husband. And if that doesn't work, then we can always reschedule.
Okay, that sounds all right.
Does that work? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that this Saturday or next Saturday would be better for you?
Probably next.
Okay, so next Saturday at 10. So June 30th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Does that work?
That should work. I'll have to double check, but that
Okay.
should work.
Okay, cool. I'll just tentatively kind of pencil you in, but that way I don't overbook myself and I know that I have space to, pamper you. And you can even invite a couple of girlfriends, and then it's always just a party with a bunch of girlfriends. So check with your husband, see if that works, and if everything works out, then I'll plan on seeing you next Saturday at 10.
All right, awesome.
Okay.
Wow, you're so convincing. Like, I even want to book a party with you.
So it obviously when you first start, you're not. I mean, you're like okay, like usually there's usually something that someone will say. It doesn't mean that they don't want to, or they think you suck, or the product sucks. I mean, sometimes you'll get like random people like, I tried Mary Kay, but that's not always the case, right? So you just have to kind of figure out why they're saying no, and if they're really truly like, I'm going to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and then my kids have soccer tournaments back to back, and then I have, or my kid's getting married, that, and if they just truly can't see a time, then I always say, well, could I follow up in a couple of weeks or maybe even a month to see if that's better time to get together? And they'll usually say, sure, no problem. Yeah, absolutely, I'd love to do it. Then you put them in your 21-day, whether she said 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is, you put, I always put FU for follow-up. But you can write follow-up or whatever you want to do as initials, but like
I have to do like an F/U because I just
throws you up. So I even
Just in case the kids find it.
Yeah.
or you can do F, well then it looks like F up, but I use a recipe card and I just do a notation of what day I'm gonna follow up, right? And I say follow up after July 10th or follow up after, whatever. And then you put them in your Rolodex, and then you don't have to have her name going through your head like, wait, am I supposed to follow up with her or not? It's done, you put it out, and then it goes out of your brain. You don't have to worry about it until you look at your July people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to me, the 21-day challenge helps you kind of release people, but also like release people in your brain, so they're not like milling around like worried about what they're gonna say or anything like that. So that is I would totally do that. Like seriously, the file folder. You can also put your customer profiles in there for your 2-day, 2-week, 2-month follow-up for your customers. So once you've done the facial, then you want to follow up 2 days later to make sure that everything that they bought, they're loving and using. Because one of the things that I find is if you wait more than 2 days and they bought a skincare regimen, but say they're doing it in the wrong order, or say they had a reaction to something, or it's making their skin feel oily, or whatever it is, and they don't call you or text you to let you know, if you follow up 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road, they just say, oh, you know what, I stopped using that, it didn't work. And then to get them back trying to, you're like, it's the wrong formula, let's swap it out. They're like, oh, well, I'd just rather, exchange it, or I'd rather have my money back, or I'd rather, they're less likely to like want to work with it. But if it's only been a couple of days, you're like, I just want to make sure everything's working. And they're like, oh, it's kind of making my skin feel a little oily. And then you say, oh, well, why don't we try the combination of oily miracle set? We can totally swap that out. And you know that Mary Kay will send you a completely 100%, bottle of a brand new one. So don't feel hesitation to do that. You want to make sure that they're happy. Now, yes, sometimes only a couple of days, like it might not have completely cleared their system of what they were using before. So you have to kind of figure that out. Maybe give it another couple of days, or, okay, well, I'll give you another, week, or I'll give you another couple of days and then I'll follow up. Let me know how it's going, that sort of thing, okay? So now we'll have Kaylin call Alyssa.
All right.
Ring, ring.
Ring, ring.
Hey,
Hey, Alyssa. Oh my gosh, it's Kaylin. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited. Do you have a quick minute?
Yeah, I do.
Awesome. Okay, so the reason for my call is to let you know that I have decided to start my own Mary Kay business. And I'm a little nervous, but really excited at the same time. So as a part of my training, my director has challenged me to have 8 sharp women, find 8 sharp women who would help me practice my party presentation, and I immediately thought of you. Is there any reason why you couldn't help me out?
Well, I can't really afford it right now. I'm trying to go to college and I barely have a job to support myself, so I'm not sure if I can buy anything from you.
Oh my gosh, that's totally okay. Right now, I just really need women to come and try the product. I'm brand new and I just need people to give me their opinion. Is there any reason why you couldn't just come and give your opinion?
No, that should be okay.
Awesome. Okay, so I had Tuesday at 6 and Friday at 1. Which day would work better for you?
Probably a Friday because I do my work during the week, but a Friday should be open for me.
Perfect. Okay, I will put you down. I have this, I don't know, the 20, or this one. Which one works better? 26th and
Friday
the
at 1.
25th.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
but the
Okay.
26th,
Yeah.
this Friday or
Sorry.
next Friday? Hush!
We should do it next Friday. That way I can plan to make sure I can actually be open that day.
Okay, perfect. And then you can actually invite friends. It's always so much more fun to have friends there. And if you do have friends come with you, you actually get free stuff. So no need for buying stuff. You get free stuff, right?
Okay.
So I just will give you a call in a couple of days to see if you have found any people to join you, and we'll just go from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Awesome. I will give you a call on Thursday.
Okay, good. So one of the other, good job. To be put on the spot, sometimes it's hard, but I realized I was going to print off my coaching checklist for when you talk to someone, to go through that. No, there's a different one, but you can use that as, this is for pre-profiling. So what?
Sorry.
Yes.
that one.
Yes,
I grabbed
that's
that one.
coaching for like once you've booked it. Yeah. So so it says, get her excited about what she can get for free. So this is one thing that Kaylin didn't go over, and sometimes we
Like
were
what?
so excited that we booked them. They were like, okay, well, I'll see you on Tuesday at 6. And then you
It was
hang on the
fun.
phone because you don't want them to change their mind or something like that. But you need to enroll them in how much they can earn for free, or what is it that they want to earn for free. So you say, so basically you can get 10% off. Now, if she says, I have no money, I can't spend any money, you might want to choose a different hostess plan based off of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if it wasn't a money issue, then you could say, okay, so for every person, now you can make your deadline or your age limit whatever you want. But I used to say 18. I say 21 now. Because I find that the ones that are 18 will come whether they are getting free stuff or not, right? They'll just bring friends just because they want to be with friends, right? But if they know that they can earn free stuff with people that are over 21 or over 25, then you get a higher, not necessarily higher caliber, but just usually they have a job, they might be married, they might have funds that they can actually spend on taking care of themselves. Does that make sense? Whereas when you're 18 and you're in high school or just out of high school and into college, you've got nothing. Like you're poor, right? So that's one of the things with the hostess thing. Maybe have 2 that you're gonna like check to see which one you like best. But 75 for 35 is always a really good way to go. You can even lower that and say if you have 4 people there that are over 21, you get 75 for 35. And if you get me your guest list of who you've invited in the next 24 hours, it's 75 for 25. So you can kind of lower it so they're getting more for their money, but they're still giving you a little bit of money for that product. Does that make sense? So, and a lot of times when you do 75 for 35, they'll bump it up to the miracle set because they only have, that's only like $30 more or whatever. And so they're paying $50 for a miracle set instead of, you know, getting a microdermabrasion set for, you know, $30 or $20. It's 55. I'm just saying in general, like getting a couple of lip glosses and a mascara, you know, like you want them on a skincare set, and so the more that you can get them free or discounted, the more likely they are to start with a skincare set. And if they fall in love with it, they're going to reorder it from you, so you will make more money down the road from it. So does that make sense? Okay, so the other coaching checklist has, did you ask her, tell her about the hostess program? Did you did you give her invites? And that could be through text message, that could be through postcard, that could be through email, however you want to invite them. It has, did you remind her no kids at the class? Did it remind you to tell her about like parking or the address, or you know, like there's a bunch of different checklists that you can do. Okay, so there's that. There are then what I want you to look at that I would love for you guys to do every single time, get used to it, is this part right here. After your party, right here. Okay, I want you to send this to me every single time. I don't care if your party ends at 10 or 11, you can send it to me. And if you want to send it through Voxer or text or email, whatever way is best, that's totally fine. But if you send this to me, I know how I can best help you with getting better for your next party. But if you wait until after you do 3 parties in a row in 1 week and you say, oh my gosh, I didn't sell a thing, they all had kids and you know, they were all 16 or whatever it is. After you do 1 party like that, I can say, okay, what did you do well? Because I always want you to focus on that. There's always something that you did that you're like, good job for me, right? Then there's always things that you can work on. Even me, I go through and I'm like, I know better. Why did I skip that part? Or, you know, I could have done this better. Or I wanted to tell my eye story different. Or I wanted, whatever it is, any amount of time that you've been in Mary Kay, you can always tweak things to make them better. So always be open to evaluation, constructive criticism. It's not coming, I'm not gonna say you suck, you know, like it's just, okay, what did you do good and what can we work on? What are maybe 2 or 3 main things that you wanna work on for your next party? And then if you have a list or you know, on the back of your paper, you go over those things that you wanted to work on. Before you go to your next party, you can look over that list. You can say, okay, that's right, I was gonna do this today. Oh, that's right, I was gonna remember to make sure I did referrals because I forgot that last time. I'm gonna write a note, or I'm gonna highlight it in the, you know, flip chart, or I'm gonna, whatever it is. Then on the top of your head, top of brain, top of mind, you're more likely to do it. Which is another reason why I have you do and want to have you do at least 30 faces that first month to jumpstart your business. Because the more people you see and the more times that you book, coach, and do the party, the better you'll be at all of those things next month. As opposed to if you only do one party this week and then wait 3 weeks to do the next party, you forgot what you did, you know, and then you're basically doing the same party over and over and you're not getting any better at it, you know. So practice doesn't make perfect, it makes progress, okay? Practice makes progress because that's truly how Mary Kay just works. Like, you'll always can tweak things and make things better, but just know that you can always do better, okay? So those are some of the things. Then on this second sheet, it does talk about pre-profiling. Now, pre-profiling is when you call the guests of the person, like your hostess invites 5 people or 10 people, you're going to pre-profile her guests. Now, some people think it's, you know, oh, well, she already said that they're coming, so I know they're coming. Pre-profiling is not to confirm whether they're coming or not, okay? I want you to think of it as it's insurance for your business, for one, but it's also starting to build a rapport with that guest. If she has a connection to just the hostess and she's running busy and she's frazzled, she might just say, oh, I'm just gonna skip it tonight. But if she connects with you and her hostess, and you said, oh my gosh, and you talk about a product that she really wants to try because she wants to get rid of her acne or wrinkles or whatever, that's one of the questions that you're gonna ask on here. You get her excited about trying it, she's way more likely to come because she knows what's in it for her. It's not just I'm gonna support my friend, it's I'm supporting my friend, but I also get to get all the blackheads off my face because I'm trying charcoal mask or whatever it is, okay? And that's what sometimes, like, there have been times in my business that I've been amazing at pre-profiling and my booking and holding rate is so much better. But when you skip this part and you're like, oh, she said that they're coming and I trust her, then things kind of fall down the wayside and a 5-person party turns into 1 or 2 people. Just because life happens with everyone, right? And the more connected they are to more people, the more likely they are to show up. So the pre-profiling questions are, okay, so, hey Jess, you don't know me, but my name is Jen, and I'll be the beauty consultant at Liz's Mary Kay party this Saturday. Do you have a quick minute?
Sure.
I have a couple quick questions to ask you about your skin so I can be better prepared for your party. Have you ever tried Mary Kay before?
I have not.
You haven't? Oh my gosh, I love newbies because our products are amazing and you're gonna love the way your skin feels after. I have been looking for someone who wants to give their Mary Kay opinion. I'm looking for 100 women or 30 faces this month to give me their opinion about our product. And I can't wait to hear what you think about it since you're new and you've never tried it before. What are you currently using on your skin?
Right now?
Yeah.
Nothing. So
Nothing? Okay, so compared to soap and water, you're gonna feel like your skin is like a baby's butt. So get excited because we're gonna have a lot of fun. Okay, so what best describes your skin? Do you think you have more dry, oily combination or more normal skin?
Normal, dryish.
Okay, cool. And you're taking notes, obviously. Okay, so you're gonna take her party, and on the back of this, you can take notes on it, or on the other skincare coaching checking list, there's a place where you write her information down, so you can use that as well.
Could we put it in like the Rolex thingy where you're like that little
The 21-day challenge thing, or
like because we get those little cards and we put like their name, their number. Could we do it on that if we're gonna see them again?
Oh, to fill out the customer profile
Yeah,
sheet
yeah.
for them? Yeah, some people do. They'll just start filling out their profile,
Okay.
and then it's basically kind of their spot at the party. They know where they're supposed to sit because their profile says their name on it. So I have never been one, because I want them to fill it out themselves. And anyway, it's just been a me thing. A lot of people do that. I just don't. But yes, that's a great idea. Because the couple of times that I did do it, I put the profiles in a different place and then I couldn't find them. So then they still had to fill it out and then I wait, so it was kind of, there were a lot of reasons. But, okay. So third thing is, what would you most like to change about your skin?
I have really dry hands.
Okay.
So probably that would be the biggest thing.
Okay, cool. We have something that pampers your hands, and it's called Satin Hands because it makes your hands feel silky, softy, smooth. So you're gonna love that. Is there anything about your face, facial skin that you would want to change? Do you have any, are you super dry or oily or acne or wrinkles? So some people will say, I don't know. What would I want to change about my skin? I don't know. Then that's when I usually will kind of prod and say, well, do you have really oily skin or is it really dry? Would you want to help with blemishes or wrinkles or, aging spots? I usually give 3 or 4 things. And then they usually say, oh yeah, because those are kind of the main things that people will say they want to change. And they'll usually choose one of those things. And they'll say, oh yeah, I actually kind of have acne every once in a while or around that time of the month or whatever. I would love to figure out a way to get rid of that and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to let you try our acne treatment gel at the party. It is going to be amazing. Or we're trying the charcoal mask. It actually pulls all of your blackheads out and it helps with blemishes and acne to pull that all to the surface so your skin is so much more clear. Are you so excited?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried a charcoal mask before?
Freaking yes.
So one of the things about this is it's not like hang up the phone. I want you to think of this, yes, the questions are important, but the main thing that you're wanting to do is to build that rapport between you and her. Because if you have a connection, you can even rebook that person because you have her phone number if Susie, the hostess, has a flood in her house and has to cancel or reschedule, right? And sometimes, poor Susie.
I've
I
had
brought
way
over
too
my
many
things.
floods.
So, to me, it's always like that security because I can call her up and say, oh my goodness, Susie isn't coming, but I still want to pamper you and I'd love to have you come and I'll give you a free gift just for showing up because I know your friend's not going to be able to make it. So you can still try to keep that party held, even if the hostess, because you have their names, right? You have their numbers. Mm-hmm. But if you don't get any names or numbers, poof, it's like it disappears. It's like magic.
Okay.
It never happened.
Bad.
Oh my gosh. That makes so much more sense.
So there's a lot of things that you're doing that might feel mundane or not important, but it's not about you care what they say, but it's not so much about these specific questions that you have to know. Because you could ask them at the party, or if they fill out the customer profile, they can fill out the customer profile and tell you that they have dry skin, right? But the reason why you want to talk to them is that connection. You want them to hear your voice. You want them to think that you're fun and they can't wait to meet you. You want to talk to them and say, oh my gosh, are you a mom? You hear a kid crying in the background, you don't go, whatever. You're like, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He just bumped his head and say, I can totally call you back. I'm a mom and I totally get it. Or you have a kid crying in the background and you're like, I am so sorry. I used to lock my room and I had to have complete silence. And I found that it's okay to have a little bit of noise in the background because they feel like you're a normal person at that point. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's one thing to be screaming bloody murder in your ear, right? Like that. I'm like, Mom, 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 Mom.
That's the worst one.
So at that point in time, I run away and kind of close the door so I can finish the conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you have kids, but sometimes kids are crazy. And it's always when you get on the phone that they're the loudest. And they always go, right? and that they connect with you,
Yeah.
you know, so don't hesitate to feel like, you don't want to sound like a basket case that like doesn't have anything together, right? But to feel normal, to sound normal, that's okay. So booking, kind of coaching, pre-profiling, and then I want to role play a little bit, and then we'll go over some other things too. So why don't you can be with Allie, and if we want to swap, we can at some point, but just kind of to get the role playing down for a little bit, because that is so seriously role playing. I thought was the stupidest thing ever, but it really can make or break and make you go so much faster in, you know, being successful, because instead of practicing your failures with a real person that you want to book, you're screwing up with me. You're screwing up with Kaylin. You're screwing up with your husband. You're screwing up with your 18-month-old child. You know, because it's just about saying it. Yeah.
Oh, he would respond too. It's
My senior director, she said she was too scared to role play with her husband, so she used her daughter's teddy bears and role played with them first.
Wow.
And then when she felt like she got better, then she used her like daughter or kid, and then she used her husband. And so just know that everyone doesn't come out perfect. Yeah. Everyone doesn't come out perfect, but it really does make a world of difference to hear me, that I've been doing it for 10, 12 years, tweak your script or tweak how you're saying it or whatever, and we can role play the little like maybe no's or objections per se, and how you could maybe go through that. So you can do some yeses and do it, but still have some objections so they know kind of how to work through that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I knew that you were like, I need to go at some point. Okay, so one of the more important things to learn when you're booking is to learn the tentative booking approach, because you'll get a lot of people that will say, yes, I'm totally willing to do that. And you try to schedule a time and they're like, well, I need to ask my friends, or I need to check with my husband, or I need to find a babysitter, or basically they need to check with someone before they can schedule. And the best way to go, you use the tentative booking approach. And the way that you do that is say, okay, so I totally get that, and I want your friends to come too, so you can earn a ton of stuff for free. But one of the things that I found is if you ask 8 or 10 of your friends when a good time is, they're gonna give you all a different day or time. And then they'll usually are like, yeah, that's so true, right? And so you say, what I find is best is we can find what day works best for you and what day you think might work for them, and schedule it, and then you can ask your friends, and if it doesn't work for a majority of the people, or you can't get anyone, you know, to come because of something random, then we can reschedule it. But let's get you on the books, let's get you scheduled so I don't have anyone schedule on that day, and I'll pencil you in, and if we need to reschedule, no big deal. So then and then once you schedule it, you plan as if it's a full, it is scheduled, it is booked. You don't call and say, hey, I was wondering if it was still okay, or hey, I just was checking, you know, like, don't ever do that with bookings. Once they're set, even if they're tentative, you talk to them as if it's a for sure thing, and if it's not a for sure thing for them, they will tell you. Like, they won't say, like, just keep planning on it and then say, oh, I forgot to tell you last week. You know, like, they'll say, oh, you know what? I found out that there's this family party I totally forgot about, and so none of my family can come. So can we reschedule it too? And then they'll usually do it, like, for you, almost in that regard. And if not, then you just say, okay, well, okay, so Wednesday doesn't work. When does that family reunion end? Or when does the whatever end? Or when are you not, you know, busy? Would next week on Tuesday or next Saturday work? And they'll usually say, oh yeah, I think next week will be fine. And so then you just pencil, you know, then you just put them in at that point. So the tentative booking approach is something that you need to master, just because we tend to say, oh, okay, check with your friends and then let me know. And anytime that I'm busy and I'm like not thinking, or my brain isn't like focused, and I say that, I'm like, duh. you know, because it's not their job to get back with you, you know, like they might want to do it, but they have other things to think about, and so you're going to be the last thing that never gets done, you know, like they're not going to think about, oh, I need to get this penciled in. Very rarely, you know, will someone call you back in that case. Majority of the time they won't. So just use the tentative booking approach and say, I totally get that, but I find that if you have a day to give them, if it doesn't work for majority of them, we can always reschedule. But if a couple people can't come, you know, no big deal. We'll just have fun with the ones that can. And then you just, you know, like that's
And then we can do another party.
And we can even do 2 if you really want, you know, and you can earn double the free stuff.
Yeah,
or
double
whatever.
the free stuff. And
So-
then you get to go to the hostess.
The money tree.
Money tree event.
Yes.
And then
So, okay, so are there any other objections or anything that you feel like you want to go over that you don't feel like you totally get or understand? One of the things that I would immediately, one of the things that I immediately do is I make an invite, and you can either use red stamp, you can use pic collage, you can use, I mean, there's a bunch of different apps out there. There's PhotoGrid, there's, you know, whatever. But make a cute little invite for their party so that they can send it as if, since we don't do postcards as much, like people still will send postcards and I absolutely think they work, but not everyone wants to get people's addresses anymore and whatnot. So make a cute invite that you can just change the day and time on. You know, it has the same graphics, it has the same, you know, your name and info. And it might just say you change the person's name that the party is for and the day and time, you know, or the place or whatever it is. So I have a couple of different, like, you know, yes, yeah, and I just change the day on it every single time. So if you create a girls' night out one, if you create a, you know, Thursday night, you know, here at the studio with the address on it, and you just change the day. If you change, you know, one that's at your house with your, you know, your house address, and then one that you just change the address because it's at their house, you can do that. So
Yeah.
it's super easy to do, and you can crop out, you can make anything that you want.
Yeah,
So
that's the one I like.
what's
I couldn't turn my arm. I'm
yeah. So you can make it any way that you want. I regularly
wanna see?
use
I'm just kidding. Too far.
I regularly use pic collage is the one that I use. I just think it's really easy to manipulate and get pictures and get the text in, and I can make them, you know, angled or totally straight or whatever. But I know a lot of people like to use red stamp because it's actually an invite. It's like structured as an invite, and so all you have to put in is the information. But
I forgot about
the
this.
graphics and the things are a little bit more set. And so sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. And sometimes if you're not a cutesy person and you don't want to think of how to make it cutesy, which I'm not necessarily one that makes it cutesy, that's why I stick with the same one ever, you know, like it's just because I don't have to rethink it, you know. But red stamp is good because it actually has a girls' night out one. It has, you know, a couple other things. So anyway, that's really good. And then you had a question. Shoot, sorry.
About overcoming.
Yeah.
If it's an hour away, I just have you have at least 4 women there, so it's worth my time to drive. So I drive up there, or I'll drive to Priv or Orem, or you know, sometimes how far have I gotten, Santa Quinn or whatever. But I have to know that it's not just one person. You know, like for that drive, I want to know that I can average out and have some sales, even if a couple of people of them, you know, don't order.
I tried to practice with her and I kept messing up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird.
But, well, and that's why you say it out loud. The more
Yeah.
you do it, then you realize, oh, it's really not as hard. I'm fumbling over my words because I have it memorized.
Yeah.
Well, the more you say it, the more. One of the things that I do, if you're trying to memorize anything, you know, Voxer, you can send yourself a note. Do you know that? So there's on the top left, there's lines. You click on that and you go to My Notes. Click on that, you can Voxer yourself. So basically Voxer yourself booking, and then while you're driving, you can listen to it. So then it's like you're repeating yourself, and you don't have to look at your words, especially when you're like Ubering or whatever. You can listen to yourself without having to look at it, And the more you hear it, the more it will be like, oh yeah, okay. And if you can say it before you say it on the boxer, that's when you know that, okay, I've got it down. Like I can do this,
Okay.
sort of a thing.